Akebulan, have you ever wondered why, when our ancestors resisted colonial rule, history often taught us to call it riot? But when Europeans did the same thing, history often taught us to call it revolution. Why do you think that those choice of words differ? I will teach you. Pay attention. What I'm about to teach you is very important. You must teach it to your children. You must make sure you share this video. The world need to know that Africa has waken up. Akebulan, pay attention. Why did they choose to call the resistance of our ancestors rioting and not protest and not even war? Pay attention. I will tell you why. You see, when you look at the nature of these words, you will notice the power in word description. From last week to this week, I've been teaching you things. I taught you why you were called tribes and not nation, in as much as you are more populated than nations in Europe, but you are called tribes. I taught you why they called you chiefs and not kings. I taught you the similarity in colonization and terrorism, that is colonialism and terrorism. I also taught you labeling in rebelling. Today, I want you to look at the root word, protest and rioting, to know why the resistance of your ancestors were called rioting and not protesting. Pay attention. You see, when the Aba women in West Africa, when they protested, when they fought, they called it Aba women riot. That is in 1929. In 1925, there is something called Calabar Market Women Uprising. They call it Calabar Market Women Riot. There is something in 1937 called Mekane Water Protest. They call it Mekane Water Riot. That is in Morocco. There is something in 1945 in Douala, Cameroon. It was a protest. They called it what? Riot. In 1948, there is something called Accra Uprising. They called it Accra Riot. There is something called Oil Mill Protest in Nigeria. In 1948, they called it Oil Mill Riot. There is something called Leopoldville Protest in Congo. Okay? They called it Leopoldville Riot. Why were they so intentional in making sure that they represented those events as riot and not protest and not even war? You need to understand something. The choice of words used to describe an event goes a long way to influence how the future generation will perceive and understood the people that participated in those events. If they describe it as a riot, your children will grow knowing the meaning of riot, will see you as what? Barbarians. Now, let us look at the definition of these two words. What is a protest? When you know what a protest is, you know why they will not want to credit your resistance as protest. A protest is a public expression of opposition. It is an objection to a policy, an action, authority, or a situation. It is usually peaceful, organized, spontaneous, and sometimes violent. Emphasis on the word sometimes, meaning that most often than not, a protest cannot be violent. Most often than not. Now, what is a riot? A violent, disorderly disturbance involving crowd and usually involving destruction, attacks, looting, and serious public disorder. That is to tell you that protest emphasizes on what? Orderliness and political grievances. But riot emphasizes on what? Violence and disorderliness. So if they say that your ancestors protested and history book represent it as what? Protest, it is going to mean that your ancestors were actually what? Expressing a public objection against a policy. Orderly people. But no, they needed the future generation to hate their fathers, they needed to call it a riot to make it as if that our ancestors were barbarians, violent people, disorderly people. They will not call it war because war is an organized resistance and conflict. But they needed to call it what? Riot, to put us where they want us to be. That is why we must reform our academic curriculum, because we are using our own mouth to teach our children, hate us when time comes. You might think that these things are small things, but they are not. Little things are little things, but when they come together, they become greater things. God does nothing in vain. For this to be revealed to me, it means it is important. Start teaching it to your children about women war or about women protest. Never you again in those schools all over refer to it as riot for your own good. Remember what I told you. The choice of word used to describe an event goes a long way to influence how the future generation will perceive and understood the people that participated in that event. Don't let our children see us as barbarians. Don't let our children see us as barbarians. You must reinform the academic curriculum in Akebuland. Wisdom is the principal thing. The ancestors have spoken. Wisdom Akebuland is the principal thing. Hey.